help a Democrat out. You've got the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee saying one thing, and I've got a former UN ambassador saying something else. Who's right?
Well, let me tell you what I would do, because I think that we need to do three things. We need to begin moving our troops out, and we have to do it carefully and responsibly. Joe is absolutely right. Moving troops out cannot happen without careful planning, which is why I've been pushing the Pentagon to make sure they're actually planning, because they've been resistant to doing so. Secondly, we need much stronger pressure on the Iraqi government than this administration has been willing to bring. And I would certainly condition any aid of any kind on their actually making the political decisions that they have been reluctant and unwilling to do so far. There is no military solution. Everybody agrees with that. And the political solutions seem to be out of the grasp of the Iraqis because they're still jockeying for power. And then, of course, we would have, as Bill suggested, an intensive regional and international diplomatic effort. But I think that, this is going to be very dangerous and very difficult. A lot of people don't like to hear that. But if you look at how we would have to take our troops out, plus the equipment, which we would not want to leave, plus what we do with the people in the green zone, plus what we do with the Iraqis who sided with us, thousands of them, plus what we do with the more than 100,000 American contractors who were there, this is a massive, complicated undertaking. And we do have to do it as carefully and responsibly as possible. And I think my plans take all of that into account.
So does that mean that Governor Richardson just is wrong when he says that all troops, except for protection of the embassy, can be out by the end of the year?
Well, I think that based on the conversations I've had with military planners and outside experts, Joe is right, that this is going to take a while. People say you can move maybe a brigade to 2 brigades a month. It is so important that we not oversell this. We've got to move them as quickly as possible, but you also have to move out the equipment. There has been no indication that the Turks are willing to let us move out. They wouldn't let us move in. That means we go back down through the south. And if you remember, when we were supposedly on the road to liberation, we were attacked by Shiites back in March and April of 2003. So this is not going to be easy or safe, and we've got to be very careful about how we do it.
I want to get everybody in on this question. First, let me just find out if anybody agrees with Governor Richardson on this question. Senator Gravel, do you agree with Governor Richardson?
And I disagree with Joe Biden, and I disagree with Hillary. Well, stop and think. Here. Why do we think that we can rule that country? This is American imperialism you're hearing up here. And that hasn't worked, and it will never work. Who are we to tell the Iraqis? We're trying to make them the fall guy, not our stupid mistakes. Oh, it's the Iraqis won't stand up. Tell you what, pull everybody out and turn to the Iranians. Who helped us defeat the Taliban initially? It was the Iranians. So if we don't bring the Iranians to help us, or the Syrians, or the Saudi Arabia, of course it's going to be a disaster. They have more at stake in that area of the world than we do.
So, Senator, you would pull out. Senator Edwards,
and use diplomacy.
Thank you, Senator Edwards. Can all the troops be out except for protection of the embassy by December?
But I couldn't hear the date.
By December, by Governor Richardson's plan.
I think it would be hard to do by December. I think we can responsibly and in a very orderly way bring our troops out over the next 9 or 10 months. But one thing I want to say, I'm listening to today, I know you're trying to create a fight up here. I understand that. But
I want to find out what you all think.
Any Democratic president will end this war.
George,
that's what we know.
George.
And secondly, the difference... The differences between us, whether it's Senator Clinton or Senator Dodd or Governor Richardson or Senator Biden, all of whom I have enormous respect for, the differences between all of us are very small compared to the differences between us and the Republican candidates, who, the best I can tell, are George Bush on steroids. They're going to keep this war going as long as it can possibly go. That's exactly what's going to happen.
With all due respect, I'd like to ask Senator Clinton, Senator Biden, you're saying you're going to leave residual troops behind. I don't know if it's 25,000, 50, 75,000. You're also saying, I think, Senator Clinton, that all combat troops should come out. Now, for the non-combat troops, how are they going to protect themselves? My point is that by taking them all out, all our troops are no longer targets. And then Al-Qaeda and the insurgents, both that see American troops as their prey, will now turn on each other. And so what we are able now to do is force this negotiation, this reconciliation process, which I believe Joe Biden's plan has potential, a possible partition or division of oil revenues, an all-Muslim peacekeeping force. Get Turkey, get Jordan, get Egypt. Talk to Iran and Syria. Bring them in. What is needed here is stability, and I think that all of these countries can be invested in a plan for stability. Nobody wants a civil war or sectarian conflict, and by the way, it's already happening. And what we need is stability, but you can't have stability without any American troop there. That's my point. So I'd like my question answered. What is the purpose of the residual force?
I'll answer that if I may.
And I also want Senator Clinton and Senator Obama on that question. You go first.
Look, the fundamental disagreement I have with my colleagues up here is that they seem to cling to the fundamental strategic mistake that everyone on both sides clings to, and that is that there's any possibility in the lifetime of anyone here of having the Iraqis get together, have a unity government in Baghdad that pulls the country together. That will not happen, George. It will not happen in the lifetime of anyone here. Secondly, the point is that you have to separate the parties to give them breathing room. You have to get them out of each other's face, just like we did in the Balkans, the same exact thing. Third piece I'd make to you is that there's much more at stake here. This war must end, but there's much more at stake as to how it ends. If it ends with this country splintering, we will have for a generation our grandchildren engaged in a regional war that will be consequential far beyond Iraq. America's security interests are at stake. You will see Turkey move in and take on the Kurds. You will see the Iranians move in and pick sides among the Shias. You will see Saudi Arabia and Syria continue to fund the most radical extreme elements of the jihadis.
Senator Biden, I think everyone agrees, everyone is afraid of the things you just outlined right there, but this is a fundamental difference with respect, Senator Edwards. Governor Richardson says that every troop except for protection of the embassy can be out by December, and if they're not, then the conflict is going to continue.
They cannot be out by December,
right,
number one. And number two, look, we've had 20,000 Western troops in a place where there's more sectarian violence from Vlad the Impaler to Milosevic than in 5,000 years of history in Iraq. And what did we do? We separated the parties. There's not one single troop has been killed. Not one in the last 10 years. There is peace. There is a circumstance where the genocide has ended. They're becoming part of Europe. Every troop must be out over time if there is not a political agreement.
Joe,
but if there is a political, yes.
Why do you leave residual troops behind? Maybe if it's
I leave residual troops behind because you're going to have a minimum of 4,000 civilians there. The military will tell my friend here it takes. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Joe, do you remember
I'm not saying that. You need combat troops, and you'll need them to protect
what happened
the
to the
5,000 troops that are there.